This video is sponsored by me. I made a poster with some t-shirts. You can buy them in the description if you want. Okay, bye. Oh, guys, we've done it. We finally made it. We've covered Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, the Universe 6 tournament, the Goku Black arc, and even the recruitment arc before this one, leading to this moment where we stand defiantly at the base of our last mountain. 36 episodes, 79 fighters, and one really boring paperweight stand before us on the finish line. Alright, okay, I'm kidding about the whole paperweight thing. Or am I? Only one way to find out, and it's in this, my longest review yet. And so I hope you've got your comfy seat ready, some food and a drink, because this is gonna be a ride. Today I will be exploring the final chapter of Dragon Ball Super's anime to date, diving in depth with multiple episodes, expanding on what I hated and what I loved. I'm totally not Mark, and this is my review for Dragon Ball Super's long, complicated, and action-packed Tournament of Power. Alright, first up, quick rundown of the team. The team captain, whatever that means, is Gohan after intense training for a day and a half. Next, Piccolo, Krillin, Tenshinhan, androids 18 and 17, Master Roshi, inexplicably, Vegeta after a bunch of time in the chamber, Goku, naturally, and the wild card, Frieza. The rules? Eliminate the other universe's participants by knocking them off the edge of the arena. Oh, also, there's no flying. You get disqualified by taking a life or by using enhancements. So, no poison for Frost. If everyone on a team is eliminated, then the entire universe they represent and them get erased. Well, that's sufficiently terrifying. Oh, and also, seeing as I have like 36 episodes to get through today, I've decided to break these bad boys into groups of 3, starting with episodes 96, 97, and 98. So, let's dive in. Unfortunately, during the production of this arc, the original Japanese voice actor of Bulma, Hiromi Tsuru, tragically passed away. The last line she recorded for the show being, "Everyone, good luck. We're counting on you." I think it goes without saying that she will be deeply missed by millions around the world and that her impact on all of our lives cannot be understated. The first episode itself deals with the prelude to the tournament, during which Goku actually has a brief interaction with Jiren, which effectively sets up Goku's goal for the entire tournament: get to Jiren and battle him. In addition to that, we also get Jiren's first sentence. It's short and reveals nothing. Such is the exposure Jiren has received thus far. In addition to this interaction, we get a glimpse of Frieza meeting Frost for the very first time, making a secret alliance, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out later on. And with those brief interactions shown to us, the tournament gets underway, and the chaos ensues. And that's when I notice a really weird decision that's made at the very beginning of the tournament, where almost every character from Universe 7 that lasts the longest are the first to act alone. Now, I can sort of see what they're trying to go for here. The theme of this arc is very clearly that of trust and teamwork, and so starting from a position where they are not working as part of a team makes sense to build a story upon, going from not working as a team to then learning its value. But in doing this, you're throwing literally everyone else who actually does work as part of a team from the get-go under a bus, which sort of flies in the face of the entire theme of this arc. And it's not like most of these guys do well in the tournament as a result of teamwork for very long either. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. As the tournament commences, chaos ensues. Half of Universe 7 remains in a tight huddle strategy, which honestly is smart as the other universes duke it out. As the fighting ensues throughout the tournament, Goku and Vegeta eventually are cornered by the 9th universe before completely blowing them away with a series of attacks throughout the opening minutes of the event, making Universe 9 the first to be eliminated from the Tournament of Power and ultimately erased from existence. This establishes that the rules are 100% serious, and the reality of that situation can be seen on everyone's faces still participating as they all take pause. Episodes 99, 100, and 101. These are a fun collection of episodes. The first deals with Krillin primarily, as he, along with Android 18, confront and eliminate Majora from Universe 4. It's a fun little episode climaxing in a feel-good Krillin moment, but quickly takes a negative turn when he is blindsided by Frost and sent to the spectators' bench. Krillin is the first fighter eliminated from Universe 7. After this, Kefla decides to confront Goku about wanting to learn how to turn Super Saiyan Blue, which Goku says is way too advanced for her and that she should instead focus on the other forms of Super Saiyan. Goku in this moment sort of assumes a mentor-type relationship with Kefla, and the two end up battling and having a lot of fun when they are going back and forth. This, however, seems to really bother her friend, sister, pupil? Who is Kale to Caulifla? Anyway, she begins going berserk again in this weird green Super Saiyan form, which, to be perfectly honest, is almost on par with the original Broly's motivation, at least when it comes to stakes. I don't like sharing. I don't like crying. I swear, if the Broly movie a couple years ago didn't recreate the Broly character from scratch, my headcanon would be that in order to have the green hair as a Super Saiyan, you have to be really stupid. Anyway, she pretty much goes on a rampage throughout the arena, knocking around various fighters, eventually landing herself in a position where Universe 11's most basic fighters all start ganging up on her, Goku, and Caulifla, forming a temporary alliance between the three. Eventually, it becomes the case that Kale and Caulifla are cornered and need then to rely on each other's power, leading to Kale actually learning how to control the power temporarily. Together, the two young Saiyans combine their attacks in a blast that I swear looks like an ice cream I had when I was a kid, and in doing so, eliminating a bunch of fighters from the 11th universe. The episode itself ends proper with Goku giving the two girls time to recharge and regain their stamina after their clash with Universe 11. Episodes 102, 103, and 104. Okay, so no time to waste because Brienne, literally everyone's favorite character, makes her grand entrance and demonstration flanked by two other magical girl parodies. Together in this episode, they pretty much end up trying to transform like a whole mess of times, and don't get me wrong, it's a cool transformation sequence, but jeez does this go on and on for the sake of a joke and saving time and animation. Brienne eventually does get to transform into her ultimate state Ribrianne, your favorite character and mine, and as I've said, she is sort of a parody on the magical girl genre, which I actually like, and her design is hilarious too. But that charm is gone soon after with the frequency with which she makes the same gags over and over and over. Although that's less of a problem with her and more of a common trait in Dragon Ball in general. However, the episode itself continues as Ribrianne goes on a rampage around the arena, grossing out Vegeta and knocking out a bunch of no-names. 17, meanwhile, is having a great fight with one of the other magical girl fighters called Kakunsa. The episode itself has some really imaginative fight sequences and some great artwork, ending in 17 eliminating both her and Vikal from Universe 2. Later, we see Gohan eliminating China's president, leading to both he and Piccolo fighting the last two members of Universe 10, ultimately winning that exchange and sealing the fates of that universe. Gohan looks at the last fighter's locket with a picture of his family. As the fighters and deities vanish before their eyes, Gohan mourns as the 10th universe is eliminated and erased from existence. The stakes are indeed high. With Universe 10 now done for, we then switch gears to another battle that is getting underway between Hit and Universe 11's Dispo. He's joined by his Universe 11 teammate Kunshi, leading Goku to offer Hit some backup. Utilizing his Super Saiyan God form for the first time since Season 1 to match Dispo's speed, together they eliminate Kunshi, but Dispo does manage to retreat. It's actually a fun little episode, and it's always refreshing to see something like Super Saiyan God, which up until this point had been criminally underused. Episode 105, 106, and 107. Okay, so these episodes are really a mixed bag. One is good, one is really bad, and another is actually really good, so we're batting 2 for 3 here. Episode 105 pretty much focuses on and covers Master Roshi's fight with a duck, and it's actually really touching. More specifically, this episode deals with Master Roshi's thoughts on his life, his philosophy, and what he'll be leaving behind if he does go here and now. While charging what seems to be one last Kamehameha from the originator of the technique, we receive dialogue that effectively captures my love for an entire era of Dragon Ball in just a few short lines, and it was most definitely enough to squeeze a few tears from me too. After this, Roshi falls lifelessly to the floor, spurring Goku on to completely forget about the fight he's having and engaging in right now to rush to his side. Goku somehow miraculously brings Roshi back to life through some unknown power, and once the old guy starts to stir, Goku quickly reverts back to being his innocent self the same way he was in early Dragon Ball. It's a tender moment and honestly, it worked really effectively for me. The next episode, however, is one that primarily deals with a sniper and Tenshinhan who barely manages to eliminate a single person. Bad episode. It's okay, look, it's really not my thing. Personally, it really lacked any sense of suspense and honestly felt out of place amidst the rest of this tournament. So, moving on. Episode 107 has some really strong storyboarding. When I first saw Frost receiving instruction from Champa at his palace on what his plan of action should be, for it to subtly fade into the tournament arena in a flash of lightning, I knew I was in for a treat here. It was seamless and brilliant. Also within this episode, this weird blue water fighter Majikayo causes Dispo trouble until Jiren finally does something and eliminates the potentially dangerous fighter with little effort, so That's pretty cool. Anyways, Frost begins fighting Master Roshi, who is struggling against him because of course he is. But get this, Frost is suddenly put on the back foot by Roshi, which is, at least to me, hilariously unrealistic. But at least it's not for long, and without prior warning, Roshi bursts out the Mothaba technique on Frost. I keep getting surprised by that thing. However, Roshi is very much at his limit and doesn't possess enough strength to execute the move flawlessly, resulting in Frost's escape. Completely taken aback by this, the Universe 6 fighter quickly formulates a cunning plan that involves getting the attention of Vegeta, firing an attack towards the Saiyan, who blocks it with ease. Investigating the situation, Vegeta rushes in only to be suddenly attacked by an old rival, Vegeta, who's defending Frost. Now armed with earplugs, Vegeta now has no obvious weakness. In an effort to help Vegeta, Master Roshi uses the Mothaba once again, but this time Frost redirects it and uses it on Vegeta instead. All this time, he was waiting for this opportunity. Seating Vegeta away in a vial, Frost seems to have gotten his revenge on the Saiyan Prince. Turning his attention once again back to Roshi, Frost releases a barrage of blasts, during which Roshi manages to throw a tiny, undetectable blast that meets its mark, breaking the vial, unleashing Vegeta and his wrath exploding forth from the prison in a blue flash of light. After this, Frost just smoke bombs away like a 60s cartoon villain, and Vegeta knocks Vegeta out of the ring, much like he did the last time. Vegeta respects Roshi after this, but advises him to take stock of the situation and to eliminate himself now before something terrible happens. Episode 108, 109, and 110. The special. In episode 108, the alliance Frieza made with Frost at the tournament's beginning rears its ugly head. Gohan is seen struggling with a yard rat from the second universe when Frieza comes in and takes control of the situation easily as Gohan's backup. But then, Frost joins the fray, changing the dynamic entirely. Frieza and he seem to have come to some sort of understanding, which ultimately leads to Frieza needing to fight Gohan to prove his loyalty to Frost. Frieza plays along and transforms, getting what seems to be the upper hand on Gohan, in essence betraying his own universe. Eventually, knocking Gohan to the side, with a brief break from the action, Frieza talks to Frost, unloading advice onto him, as if he were his mentor figure. The final piece of advice that he unloads onto him, though? Not to trust anyone, knocking him out of the ring, much to Frost's surprise. He had been pulling his punches this entire time with Gohan, who had also been in on this charade. But who cares about that, because now we've got the real meat and potatoes. And I'm not saying that because I'm from Ireland, I'm saying that because this is when the action gets turned up to 11. You see, episodes 109 and 110 are the installments that made up the hour-long TV special that aired together when broadcast in Japan. It covers the end of Goku's battle with Ribrianne, which is really well animated, and the first fight Goku has with Jiren. Throughout the series, Jiren has barely been seen to move, but this is where Goku forces Jiren to move, like literally. The dude won't move unless Goku makes him. It's a really fun scene that escalates very quickly from the get-go, and there's tension because we want to know how Goku matches up to this wall that Jiren poses. Cycling through his base form, Super Saiyan 1 and 2, Super Saiyan God, which actually bunches his head a smidge, Super Saiyan Blue, and even Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 without any success. Unless you consider making him move a success, in which case, got him? Their fight in this Kaioken variation of the Super Saiyan Blue form is my favorite in this exchange. Goku being flung to the arena floor only to explode back into Jiren's face, it's pretty great to see. There's also a gorgeous tracking shot of the two as they fight around the arena, passing all the other fighters, giving a great sense of scale to the actual occasion. Things, however, become dire as Goku exhausts pretty much every technique and option at his disposal. Well, all except one. The Spirit Bomb, which happens to have my favorite accompanying track of the entire series. And that's only the first half. Yeah, you heard me right, this is only the first half. And that first half ends as Jiren forces the Spirit Bomb back onto Goku, who seemingly gets destroyed in the explosion. It's honestly a crazy sight to behold. As the second half begins, everyone is left in awe after what's transpired, when suddenly, Goku erupts from the floor, presenting to us the best transformation sequence in this series. Not Super Saiyan God or Blooper Saiyan, Ultra Instinct has been hinted at since episode 5 when Goku's body acted without him against Beerus. This is what I call a transformation that has been built upon and given the correct occasion. And man, is the fight that follows impressive. We see Goku dodge Jiren's attacks with little difficulty, and the action supplied by Toei's finest is spectacular. In this one special, we get Ryo Anashi, Yuya Takahashi, Naoki Tate, and even some Notoshi Shida covering the end of the fight as Goku charges with one final attack towards Jiren before unfortunately running out of juice at the last moment before being cast aside with ease by the monstrous Universal 11 warrior. The ending of the episode also is a brilliant callback role reversal with Frieza offering up his energy to Goku, very reminiscent of what Goku did for him on Namek. We interrupt this tournament for totally not merch. Hey, what's up guys? For the first time ever, I've decided to make some t-shirts. I made the design to celebrate the completion of Dragon Ball Super, and I produced it in a fully colored classic manga style. From the line art all the way through to the fully colored and rendered image, this might be my favorite illustration I've ever done. So I hope you guys like it. And if you don't feel like a t-shirt right now, we got a whole bunch of other stuff including posters, hoodies, and mugs, all with this design. These will only be available for a limited time, so if you want to get your T&M designed apparel, click the link in the description down below. Now, back to the tournament. Episode 111, 112, and 113. So this episode pretty much covers the aftermath of Goku's fight with Jiren. Goku himself is entirely spent and needs to recuperate his energy levels again with a nice rest. While this is all transpiring, Hit directs his attention towards Jiren as the two begin battling. In doing so, Hit breaks out a ton of interesting, unpredictable moves against Jiren, but none of them seem to work or have that much of an effect at all. Though I must say, it is fun to watch the two of them discover the depths of each other's abilities firsthand. It's also nice to get longer stretches where we are exposed to Jiren more. Eventually, Hit manages to restrain Jiren in another dimension or something with this new technique he's been developing, but even that isn't enough, and with a dominating attack, Jiren eliminates Hit. In just 2 episodes, Jiren has destroyed 2 of the strongest contestants of the tournament, and yet we still know very little about Jiren's personality. Next up is pretty much, for all intents and purposes, a setup episode. Piccolo and Gohan start fighting the Universe 6 Namekians, Kaba becomes Super Saiyan 2 after being saved and given a pep talk by Vegeta, a drained Goku has trouble with some robots, but Caulifla and Kale remove them from the equation. Essentially, this episode is all about Universe 6 and Universe 7's relationship. Oh, and Frieza eliminates Kaba too. And to be perfectly honest, I'm very disappointed with what little they did with Kaba's character. Moving on, episode 113 is pretty much all about the fight between Goku and the remaining Universe 6 Saiyans, really. Since Hit was their leader and has since been eliminated, Caulifla wants to learn how to turn Super Saiyan 3 to take charge of her situation for her universe, and so Goku begins fighting her. I actually really enjoyed this interaction. Since Goku is redlining when it comes to energy levels, he's forced to rely on his martial arts knowledge while in his base form as he regains his stamina. Slowly, he works his way back up through the Super Saiyan forms as Kale rejoins the party, and as soon as their teamwork starts to get the better of Goku, he bursts into Super Saiyan 3, easily overpowering them before reverting back to Super Saiyan 2. He still doesn't have enough stamina to show them everything he's capable of just yet. Kale, on the other hand, who now seems to be in control of her green-haired Super Saiyan form, tries to push herself farther into the depths of her power. However, in doing so, she loses herself once again, ending the episode. Oh, and by the way, ever since Hit was eliminated, Jiren's been sleeping. Oh, I mean, meditating. Episode 114, 115, and 116. Taking up right from where the previous left off, Kale is about to go berserk once again, but Caulifla, once again, brings her back from the brink, and together they take on Goku, now armed with even more firepower. The fight is honestly really pretty in places, with gorgeous artwork from Yuya Takahashi, and even some comedic moments with Frieza and the Power Ranger guy animated by Yuichi Karasawa, one of the principal animators from episode 50 that I also loved so much. As the action begins to ramp up, Goku is able to use his God form to great effect against the 2 young Saiyans, eventually cornering them and forcing their hand to use their trump card, Fusion. Enter Her design is honestly my favorite of these new Saiyans introduced in the modern generation of Dragon Ball, and as the fight progresses, it becomes obvious that Goku won't stand a chance against her if he remains in his God form. And so, to remain competitive, he uses Super Saiyan Blue, leading Kefla to respond in kind by turning Super Saiyan herself. Things are tight and a little tough for Goku in places, but clever uses of the Kaioken technique keep him from losing too many of the exchanges. But that can only last so long. Goku is still feeling the effects of the prior battles and eventually is sent flying to the ground with 2 well-placed kicks from Kefla, leading to, once again, a surge of dormant energy brewing from deep within Goku. Ultra Instinct has joined the chat. Let's hope this time it sticks around long enough to make a difference. The re-reveal of Ultra Instinct is once again getting fantastic treatment in the series, built up to and demonstrated using appropriate framing and on-model artwork, and honestly, what follows is some of the most fun fight sequences sporting solid animation and choreography, facilitating the single best finish to any Dragon Ball fight I have ever seen, ever, in my life. I mean it. I cannot begin to describe how much I love that Kamehameha grind that would make Tony Hawk proud, performed by Goku when he was seemingly out of options to dodge against Kefla's ice cream attack. I quite literally didn't expect it in the slightest, and after that devastating attack from Goku, Caulifla and Kale are eliminated, leaving just 2 warriors remaining from their universe in the tournament, and oh, Jiren is awake again. Neat. Episodes 117, 118, and 119. The next episode covers Ribrianne's battle with Android 18 and eventually 17 as they both work together to eliminate her after assuming a massive new form. The action is honestly spectacular with cool pieces of animation supplied by Ryo Onoshi. The following episode, however, covers the remaining 2 fights from Universe 6. 2 Namekians have taken the absorption ability explained during the Namek saga to never before seen heights. The 2 of them now represent their entire Namekian race from Universe 6. It's a really cool and great idea that lends a lot of credibility to these 2 utilizing a ritual established ages and ages ago in the story. All the while this is happening, the androids give Goku some assistance against the last 3 fighters from Universe 2, as he is once again completely drained after his tango with the Ultra Instinct form. However, what follows in this episode is easily my favorite Gohan fight in the entire series of Dragon Ball Super. It demonstrates his calm demeanor extremely well as he, despite Piccolo losing his cool, finds the resolve to not only pick up Piccolo's slack, but also formulate a plan of counterattack. He tells Piccolo that while he takes on the 2 Universe 6 Namekians, he should charge his Makanko Sapo or Special Beam Cannon depending on your persuasion. Gohan seems to have bought him enough time, but even that charge isn't enough to pierce the hide of these Universe 6 warriors, resulting in a counterattack leading to Piccolo's fainting. It's at this point we are greeted with my personal visual highlight of the episode. Standing on either side of Piccolo in a void of darkness is the spirit of Kami and Nail. The Kami spirit points in front of Piccolo, leading him to come to his senses as he notices Gohan taking an attack the same way he did for Gohan when he was a child during the Saiyan saga. Gohan, still the backbone of the assault, presses the attack on the 2 Universe 6 fighters, giving Piccolo ample time to charge his Makanko Sapo. As one warrior gets dangerously close to attacking Gohan, the young Saiyan refuses to flinch, having limitless trust in his mentor. Piccolo makes the save this time, and together they eliminate the last of Universe 6 at the exact same time Goku and the androids eliminate Universe 2. 2 entire universes have been eliminated in this episode, and what an episode it was. The parallels between this and the collection of moments during the Saiyan saga are not a coincidence. The once terrified child unable to stick to a plan, always dependent on others to protect him, has become a confident, intelligent, and tenacious warrior with boundless trust in his allies. I loved this episode, and to cap it all off, there's a very bittersweet ending as Beerus sees his brother vanish before his eyes. Unfortunately, what follows this stellar show is something of a gimmick episode, following the remaining fighters from Universe 7 struggling to find and eliminate 2 hard-to-see adversaries. And while they do eliminate them both eventually, Piccolo is also eliminated rather unceremoniously. Episodes 120, 121, and 122. The episode kicks off with Gohan wanting to give his father and Vegeta a break from fighting and to take on the robots from Universe 3 alone. As things get a little more hairy, the androids join in and eventually Goku and Vegeta do too. It's nice getting to see Gohan act with some sort of agency instead of him reacting to situations that befall him. That is a change to Gohan in this arc that is most notable to me, and one that I don't see brought up in conversation nearly enough. The next episode begins and all the robots join to create an organic-looking creature called Anilaza. Hey look, I don't make up the rules, I just review them. But is Anilaza classed as a 4th separate fighter, or is it just one big new one? And if that's the case, then doesn't it count as the 11th member of their... I don't know. Anyways, Android 18 is saved by Goku and eventually sacrifices herself for her brother so that he can remain in the tournament. 18 is therefore eliminated, which means that Universe 7 is now down to 5 fighters. I want to also make it known that all this time Jiren has stood and said almost nothing. There's even been scenes where his teammates ask him questions and he still says nothing. His meme level commitment to this silent tough guy routine is hilarious. He meditated in 6 episodes, and since waking up, he has literally stood silently, not fighting mind you, not doing anything, for 7 episodes. Thankfully though, episode 122 puts an end to that trend for Jiren Jiren, as well as doing a fantastic job in setting up the scene at the very beginning. With only 2 universes remaining, it's almost framed like a western. Close-ups to the gloves, hair, and ears of various characters, showing the stillness and calmness before the storm of conflict to come, is strikingly effective. Universe 11 and Universe 7 are all that remain. 3 from Universe 11 in Jiren, Dispo, and Toppo, and in Universe 7, Goku, Frieza, Android 17, Gohan, and Vegeta remain. And while the focus is on everyone at the beginning, it most certainly is a Vegeta episode. And Yuya Takahashi animates too, so that's always great. Kicking things off as the battle between Goku and Jiren quickly becomes a battle that involves Vegeta, demonstrating how he differs as a fighter to Goku. While all this is going on, we see Frieza versus Dispo, as well as Toppo versus Gohan and 17. Vegeta begins scuffling with Jiren, throwing blow after blow, landing some and even getting to trash talk a bit. In response, however, Jiren bulldozes through a Gallic gun and almost knocks Vegeta out of bounds. However, always defiant, he once again stands before the Titan of Universe 11, armed with one last massive attack to test him with. A Super Saiyan Blue, full-powered Final Flash. And it is awesome, containing within it a determination within Vegeta to not chase Goku any longer, but to blaze his own path to power and to find his own way of surpassing him. And while that is nice, and while that is a beautiful sentiment, it doesn't work out, leading to Vegeta getting trapped in a vortex explosion ball or something by Jiren. Point is, Vegeta, he's down for the count. Episodes 123, 124, and 125. The battle continues as Goku fights Jiren again in blue, but this time tries to implement strategy, either by setting landmine-type energy attacks or by slicing off the arena beneath him using the same attack Krillin used against him in the earlier arc. Great callback. Coupled with the instant transmission, I loved it. It looks like Jiren is done for when... I guess physics be damned. Like, okay, I don't understand. If flying doesn't work, then why does this? And this isn't just an isolated incident either. There have been countless moments during this tournament where combatants might as well have been flying. He shouldn't survive this. Anyways, the episode ends with Vegeta rejoining the fight, pushing himself to newer, bluer heights. I present Blooper Saiyan God, Blooper Saiyan... Blue. Honestly, the compositing around this new Vegeta form is too much for me. There are so many light effects, sparkles, and CGI fluff added in post-production, I can honestly barely make out what's happening in terms of fight choreography. Frieza, meanwhile, tries to make a deal with Dispo to play for his team if they resurrect him with the Super Dragon Balls. Dispo, somewhat intelligently, refuses and Frieza transforms into his golden state. Watching Frieza act as he would have during the Namek saga is honestly fantastic and super interesting. He never does more than he needs to and thinks about every single move he makes. And he's always ready with a terrifying one-liner here and there too. That is, while he's in control. And Dispo, it seems he can turn the jets up even more as we see him pushing Frieza to the edge of the arena. About to be eliminated, Gohan makes the save, leading to a short but poignant and great interaction between the two of them. Gohan is serious, and me likey. The two fight and struggle against Dispo, leading to Gohan needing to sacrifice himself for Dispo's elimination. Both are knocked out as a result. Now only Toppo and Jiren remain for the 11th universe, and for the 7th, Goku, Frieza, Vegeta, and 17 remain. And what follows this episode is probably one of the strongest episodes in the tournament, I think, in terms of character. And it's very fun. So, Justice Lag McEggman is fighting 17, who's finding some success with his inexhaustible energy reserves, proving to be much more of a problem to Toppo than he first anticipated. However, he does find his opening and launches a massive attack towards 17, but at the last moment, right before 17 was about to be overwhelmed, Frieza finds himself in the right place at the right time. Unable to defend himself while holding back 17's blast, Frieza begins trash-talking Toppo, taunting him, and firing blast after blast at the Pride Trooper, and this is exactly what Frieza would do. It's very much a cat playing with his food right now. But alas, the play must end. And end it most certainly does, sandwiching Toppo between both his and 17's attacks. However, unluckily for Frieza, moments before he was to knock Toppo off the stage, the downed warrior stands to his feet once again and assumes the power of a god of destruction. So, that's less than ideal for Frieza in this instance, but it does contain a nice callback to the moment Frieza controlled the destroyer energy, but this time it doesn't work out. Though I'm not sure what stopped it from completely destroying Frieza. Oh well. The fight with Toppo, now a god of destruction, fighting 17 resumes, leading to a similar instance where 17 is on the verge of defeat when... Standing atop a rocky outcrop reminiscent of his surprise return on Namek, Frieza defiantly blusters at Toppo, leading to the near elimination of the fourth last member of Universe 7. Frieza is now out cold, inches from elimination. There's some terrific expressions in this episode, some wonderful animation to boot, and I thoroughly enjoyed it all. Episodes 126, 127, and 128. The fight continues as Toppo gets 17 into a position of elimination for the third time when Frieza stops it again. MVP of the tournament, don't at me. I swear, Toppo must think this guy's a cockroach or something because he is not going away at all. Meanwhile, the fighting between Jiren, Goku, and Vegeta gets too close to the action of Frieza and 17, causing Toppo to start fighting Vegeta in Jiren's place. In short, they fight, Vegeta gets beaten down and is forced to recall his past to get a surge of inspiration to defy the odds and overcome Toppo, leading to a recreation of Vegeta's sacrifice in the Buu arc. I do not like this at all, and I'll explain why next week. So, Vegeta crawls out of the crater he sacrificed himself in with a few scratches and less clothes. Cool. So Vegeta, 17, and Goku all team up against Jiren, who brushes them all off without much difficulty at all. Throughout this entire tournament, Jiren has said nothing of substance, done extremely little, and even spent a large portion of the tournament sleeping and watching others fight. He has been this emotionless Terminator-type character that literally acts not as a character, but as a plot device, an obstacle for the heroes of Universe 7 to overcome. But here we are, 5 episodes from the finish line, and we get, and I'm not kidding here, a tragic, cliche Naruto backstory for Jiren. When I first saw this, I burst out crying with laughter. Anyway, 17 calls BS, getting on Jiren's nerves to such an extent that he ends up sacrificing himself to give Goku and Vegeta the best chance to recover. Man, people really like sacrificing themselves in this show. Goku still remains on the floor, but Vegeta stands defiantly, albeit with 0 energy left. Episode 128 is pretty much wall-to-wall Vegeta with a little bit of Goku at the end. Vegeta is being beaten to a pulp by Jiren over and over and over again. This was storyboarded and heavily corrected by the series character designer Tadayoshi Yamamuro. I mentioned during my Battle of Gods review that he worked on the art for episode 13 as well. The artwork, similar to that episode, is very on model, albeit on the safe side when it comes to its posing. Dragon Ball characters sure do love to hold their shoulders, don't they? Regardless, Vegeta keeps getting up again and again to face Jiren, with the final time he does coming from his lucky boot catching him on a piece of random debris while he's unconscious. And that's the second time his boots and a random piece of debris have saved him in this series. Despite getting up one last time, Vegeta ends up falling off the stage, leaving Goku alone with Jiren, but not before giving him all of his remaining energy. Goku tries to make this as much of a contest as he can using the last of his and Vegeta's energy, but alas, it's still not even remotely enough to test or push Jiren, leading to, once again, a beaten and weakened Goku on the brink of losing the entire tournament, when something starts to happen. Ultra Instinct kicks in one more time, leading to the first major or significant strike Jiren has taken. And if that face is anything to go by, then we are most certainly in for a treat. Episodes 129, 130, and 131. These final 3 chapters are the holy trinity of Dragon Ball Super, providing payoff to every substantial thing they did in this arc and show, with each episode, in my opinion, being better than the last. So, how did they go? Goku and Jiren continue fighting in the air because who cares if flying is banned, and Goku ends up taking a massive blow from Jiren, who, through Goku's last 2 times using the form, has already studied and understood its movements well enough to successfully land a shot on this unhittable new form of Goku's. Vegeta gives Goku a pep talk from the sidelines, ordering Goku to, and I quote, "step into the realms of the gods and defeat Jiren Kakarot." Hearing this, Goku rallies himself yet again. Explosions envelop the arena as Yuichi Karasawa, another wonderful action animator, provides some great artwork and animation for the fight to help it feel as big as it deserves to be. However, this desperate flurry doesn't last long, and as fast as it started, Jiren has Goku once again pressed down to the ground. And this is when Whis starts to notice something. An energy building, a sense of stability and offense bubbling within Goku. All this time, Goku's Ultra Instinct form had been unrefined, an unstable, mainly defensive form. However, for someone to truly perfect Ultra Instinct, to master it, they must also be able to attack without thinking simultaneously. Taking one last deep breath, accepting the power surging within him, Goku lets out a massive roar as what looks like a galaxy of light surrounds and flows through him. Jiren acknowledges and smiles. Meeting Goku's power output from atop the high ground, respect is now something Jiren has for Goku. Taking aim, Jiren fires the largest attack the tournament has yet seen towards the Saiyan, that while currently surging with power, is still on a flimsy foothold inches from defeat. The attack is fired, the sound effects blast accompanied by the roaring soundtrack when... quiet. Appearing behind Jiren, holding in his hand the blast Jiren sent to him, stands Goku, shrouded in a phantom white glow similar to how he appeared behind him last, only this time he lands consecutive blows while dodging at the exact same time. He has mastered offense as well as defense. This is mastered Ultra Instinct. And what follows this unveiling is the single biggest fight in Dragon Ball Super. Without exaggeration, this is the most well-animated episode of Dragon Ball, and that includes Dragon Ball Z, with it being the treasure gem it is online and all. It's honestly wonderful to see a show that started off as rough as it did rise up to be the single best demonstration of animation in the Dragon Ball episodic series as a whole. With that said, there isn't much happening here in terms of writing or story, but there is a nice moment where Goku straight up says that he isn't a hero for justice, but takes issue when someone attacks his friends and family. But outside of that, it's just spectacular fight choreography with every major action and effects animator working on it in some capacity. Ending on a cliffhanger with Goku's body rejecting mastered Ultra Instinct to the point of almost ending him there and then. Goku is done. And a swerve I both did and didn't see coming, Frieza is still in play, but also 17? What? The final episode is, in my opinion, the best episode of the series by far, without question. Supplying the most meaningful action of the show, providing the best musical score inclusions, and delivering some of my absolute favorite lines of not just this series, but the entire series. So let's check it out. This final episode can be broken up into its prelude or pre-climax, the climax itself, and finally the conclusion. But it's what helps link some of these parts that I find most interesting. Throughout this arc itself, it has been following the 3-act structure, and by all means, we are well within the 3rd act now. But this singular episode adheres to its own self-contained 3-act structure too, perhaps more effectively and closely than any other episode in this arc thus far, acting not only as the series and arc climaxes, but also the climax to this episode's singular journey, creating a moment all the more intense and potent for it. One of the most interesting aspects of this final episode here is that Goku really isn't the main character of it. He's definitely a major player, but actually acts as more of a Chekhov's gun than the focus character in this episode. In reality, in this episode, characters like Frieza and even Jiren are the focus and main characters of the finish, each undergoing their own hero's journey, accepting the call to action, transforming themselves, atoning for what they have done, and coming out the other end different. Jiren in that he receives a new outlook on life, and Frieza in that he gets a brand new one. But anyway, I don't want to get lost in the weeds of the hero's journey, and this is a video first and foremost about me reviewing the series. I'm just a really big fan of this finish, and I need you guys to know first off that there is much more going on in this episode under the hood than maybe you might have realized. The episode itself begins as a weakened Jiren has to contend with Android 17 and Frieza, 2 characters he thought had been eliminated. Despite this, he quickly accepts the call to action and fights them. Frieza takes the lead against the Purple Brute, but what's interesting is that the entire episode centers around the main theme of the arc, and that is trust. From the very first opening line of the episode, the exact theme is mentioned, trust, by both Frieza and Jiren in their first exchange, and that is most definitely not a coincidence. Despite this, both he and Frieza reject the notion of trust and so begin doing battle relying on their own strength to get the job done. Frieza begins taunting Jiren about how he isn't the invincible fighter he thought he once was, and that he isn't intimidated by him in the slightest. This position Frieza's character finds himself in is so interesting to me, flirting with the idea of fighting for good, but always finding a reason to make it about himself. Very much in this scenario, he is playing the role of an anti-hero the same way Vegeta was while fighting the Ginyu Force on Namek. As Frieza and Jiren were fighting and crashing through the floor, we got an awesome establishing shot that really demonstrates the scale of the battle at hand, offering us perspective of where Android 17 is right now relative to them, which becomes important later. Frieza is using every single weapon he has against Jiren, including his intellect. It's extremely compelling stuff. The scene even manages to pull off a swerve too in its short time with us. Jiren rises to the taunt of Frieza stepping on his tail, beginning to pummel his body like a punching bag. Looking for this reaction, however, Frieza uses his telekinesis to crush Jiren between 2 boulders before giving way to 17's attack, having successfully flanked into the correct position, taking both Frieza and Jiren off guard. The android surrounds himself and Jiren with a strong barrier before creating a massive explosion around the final fighter from the 11th universe. As the smoke clears, Jiren falls to his knees, down for the count. Frieza walks up to 17 saying, "You certainly went all out to stop him, didn't you?" To which 17 responds by saying, "Even if I failed, I knew it'd be fine if you were still here." 17 at this moment has put all of his trust in Frieza, and hearing this, all Frieza can do is scoff at the idea and sarcastically quip before moving on to finish Jiren off. Frieza at this point, much like Jiren still is, has no trust in anyone. Crushed by the weight of his defeat at the hands of Goku and now even Frieza, Jiren kneels because he has been mentally defeated. But cutting through the silence, Toppo shouts out to his fallen comrade as Frieza teases that his friend is obnoxious. Jiren replies, "I have no friends." Toppo continues to criticize Jiren's old way of doing things, training for his pride while trusting no one. Toppo rejects all of this and in the face of certain destruction puts all of his and Universe 11's trust still in Jiren's resolve. With this, Jiren finally begins to understand what trust is, in himself and in others, finding the mental resolve to pick himself up, exploding with new reserves of energy. This forces Frieza back. Once standing alone like he is most comfortable doing, he is forced to stand behind the shield of an ally that moments ago put his trust in him. And there's tons of symbolism here. Frieza, by necessity, needed for his own survival's sake to stand behind 17's defenses, but also needed to strip himself of his gaudy golden facade to help the shield's integrity, meaning the shield only works if Frieza trusts 17 with his energy. Kicking and screaming at 17 to not tell him what to do, it's obvious that he is still trying to reject the notion of relying completely on others. This loss of his golden form also communicates tension to us, the audience, for reasons that are abundantly obvious. They are about to run out of energy, the shield is buckling and cracking, it's about to give way. When... This moment, this freaking moment, on a fundamental, narrative, visual, and even musical level works, and I don't use this word often, perfectly. And what follows is my favorite scene in this episode, in this series, and maybe even Dragon Ball. Goku, by some miracle, stands alongside his teammates one last time, formulating a plan of action. 17 is to take care of backup while he and Frieza deal with Jiren. Frieza clearly still doesn't feel comfortable with this, teasing Goku, "Are you sure you don't want to stay back too?" Goku sees through this issue Frieza has immediately, shouting his name, reprimanding his foolish thought process at such a dire point in the contest, confronting Frieza for the first time about this side of himself, forcing him to see reason. Goku, in this moment, is showing the true strength of his character, and it's been like this since the very beginning of Dragon Ball, the flat art character that shows the truth to those trapped in the lie. He says, "We have all gone well beyond our limits already. If we don't work together and fight, Universe 7 is gonna be erased." Goku then turns his focus to Jiren, a changed fighter partially thanks to him but also his teammates. Goku begins to marvel at the level of strength this fighter has been able to muster, and that's when the most important piece of dialogue cuts through the air. Without being provoked, Frieza says, "You haven't forgotten about your promise to resurrect me, have you?" Goku responds somewhat confused, "Frieza? I'm asking if you still remember!" He screams at Goku, "So long as you don't break your promise, I'll keep mine. You know that better than anyone, don't you?" That line was not something Frieza was expecting, but in that one solitary line, it suddenly gives Frieza pause for thought, recontextualizing everything he understood about what transpired on Namek. Frieza never trusted anyone, not his forces, his father, and most certainly not Goku after he begged him to spare his life and to give him energy. What made that scene on Namek as powerful as it wasn't simply the spectacle of the event, but also the story about how Frieza defeated himself. Then and there, while begging on that planet, not for a second did Frieza ever consider trusting anyone, that at the first opportunity he's given, he would destroy Goku there and then. And we all know how that played out. Now faced with that explanation in the closing moments of the tournament, Frieza is forced to swallow his pride, accept that Goku in this instance might be onto something, and regardless of whether or not he agrees with him, at this moment, he has to trust him. He's not going to make the same mistake he did on Namek. This is the best dialogue exchange in all of Super, no question. And for the first time in the history of this show, both Frieza and Goku fight unconditionally side by side as a team for the sake of their home. And it is amazing, showcasing a phenomenal storyboard by the genius Megumi Ishitani, who, if I'm being honest, deserves an entire video of her own. And in addition to that, the bombastic animation supplied by the incomparable Yuya Takahashi really puts the cherry on top of this battle. And what a battle, showcasing teamwork maneuvers by both Goku and Frieza, coming in with a flying knee to Jiren's face face making the save for Goku at the beginning, getting a boost from Goku later off the wall, and then Goku returning the favor to Frieza, making the save as the guitar solo slashes through the action, with him fading in and out of his Super Saiyan form, which, if I'm being completely honest, is a damn cool visual. And what caps off the end of the tournament? Jiren saying this. So this is trust. Universe 7's power. Jiren acknowledges that trust is a powerful trait to have and not a weakness. This episode, man, I adore it. The rest of the episode is tidy up on the details of the aftermath of the tournament. 17 uses the balls to revive the fallen universes, and Frieza loses his halo and gains a life once again. Oh, also, a really fun visual Easter egg actually happens right after Frieza gets his life back. Frieza teases Whis, "Are you sure about this? I don't intend to stop my evil ways." We then cut to Goku surrounded by Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Vegeta, basically everyone who was around on Namek. That's a really nice touch. The gang then goes home. Both Goku and Vegeta tease us about the future while assuming their classic poses from their Gorge battle. And that's Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power. It's surprisingly easy and enjoyable to watch, as a binging experience. I will, however, say that I recall people complaining about the pacing when it was on the air week to week, which is a justifiable criticism too, I believe. There are some very slow and uneventful episodes and spots in the arc, and if you're not interested in the character that gets the screen time that particular week, then you're out of luck and gotta wait until next week to roll the dice again. I mean, there's a reason why I grouped these by the 3 instead of reviewing them individually. But in saying that, I love tournament arcs, and I love them as much as I do, not because of the action that comes with them, but because they act as a wonderful way to bring characters and subsequently their emotional journeys into conflict with each other, leading to those emotional journeys in a lot of ways finding their resolutions. And I think for the most part the Universe Survival arc did that and was for me the strongest outing the entire series had by a long shot. Perhaps my biggest issue with the arc can be seen with characters like Jiren and even Vegeta, who could have had much more of an impact on the story had they been handled better, and perhaps even the whole tournament could have been made slightly more cohesive looking back at it now. But overall, rewatching this left me with honestly more positive than negatives to talk about, and I'm genuinely happy for that. The music in parts I believe was used masterfully well, and in others a little less well. In fact, going through this series again has inspired me to study Dragon Ball's music more, and to be honest, I'm very excited to share with you all what I found and noticed about the series' music. A lot of you have written to me privately and publicly on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, reprimanding me for what I have had to say about the show you love. And to that I say, I love the show too. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing and talking about this show Dragon Ball if I didn't love it. Next week I'm going to be delivering my final analysis of this series from start to finish, talking about what I loved and what I hated in detail and explaining why. I hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane, and I will see you all next week in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.